we go. Okay, so welcome everybody. Mrs. Carlebach, thank you so much for joining us and just sharing with us your wealth of knowledge and experience and probably very useful information for all of us. I want to start introducing you and your credentials. So people that probably might not have heard of you understand the person that you are is very accomplished person. So okay, so you are the director of the center BMC in Quebec, correct, with thousands of students worldwide. You're a renowned worldwide motivational speaker and certified coach specialized in intimate relationships with 33 years of experience coaching brides and couples. You are passionate about this topic. It says, you really have worked on this, and I can see it not only because when I did the research of your bio, but also the way you conduct the Facebook group is just unbelievable. The fact that exists a group like that is pretty amazing. So one second, let me just turn off my notifications. There you go. So you also are the Rebbetzin of the House of Israel, a congregation with over 1,000 families. And you have been the protagonist in two documentaries. One is the Shekhinah one, which I heard of it. I don't think I watched it yet, but I did hear of it. My life was all about diapers and for 5 years. So I'm sorry I missed it. And Shekhinah too. So you can also talk about this also if you want to. You received prestigious honors from the Federation CJA in Montreal for excellence in education and community service together with your husband. You have 13 kids and grandchildren. I don't know how many grandchildren, but grandchildren. And you're a mikvah advocate. For people who don't know what a mikvah is the ritual bath that Jewish women have to go to at certain times of the month. You also founded this popular group in Facebook called Jewish Women Talking About Intimacy. And it's amazing because I wanna talk a little bit about this, because what I love about it and what I see that I can connect in this particular topic is that in that group, it's not only for these type of people, this type of group, that Chabad women or this woman, it's everybody. I've heard and I've read questions from everybody, from all sorts of questions, and I think that is such a value and such a beautiful and powerful thing. That is what we as followers of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, we call it the spreading the wellsprings of the Torah, of holiness, in the world. So I really think it's incredible how women find support in this particular topic, that is intimacy, from people who actually know and people who honestly want to just help. So that is an incredible thing. Sorry if I missed something. I'm sure you have many more accomplishments, and I could spend the whole 15 minutes talking about it, but I want you to talk and share with us all these beautiful thoughts and experience that you had. So thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thank you, first of all, very much. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm so happy to have met you. And one of the really fun things about this group, Jewish Women Talk About Intimacy, is that I've been meeting the most incredible people who are very like-minded, who have the same passion, who are interested in helping people, and realize that the intimate part of our life is very important and actually has a great effect on every other part of our life, And this has been, and the sentiment that you expressed before is exactly what I've been hearing from so many people. Even I walked the street and I met some friends or people from my synagogue, and they tell me, it's so fascinating that like so many questions I could relate to. There's so many issues that that I've encountered, so many things I can learn from. And these are women from so many different walks of life, different ages, different stages. And there is nothing like women supporting women, and especially when we have the foundation of the Torah, because that's the foundation of this group, is about how can Torah increase the passion and love in your marriage, the connection and beauty in your marriage. And there's nothing more powerful than that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is absolutely truth. And, with this, I really want to start with asking you exactly, how is it that you really got to be interested about this topic? What was that spark, that said like, wow, this is it. This is what this is what I want to do. Because I have to tell you, like I had that I'm just starting with this like passion, and I wonder how was your experience, like what triggered this love for helping women on this area?
Quite by accident. I mean, I am a teacher by nature, and I always loved teaching, but I never thought that I would be teaching about the intimate life of couples. I went into marriage. I didn't have, very many lessons. I came from a generation, you do what, you just accept, that what God does is great and beautiful. And you do feel that in your heart, and you don't even need that much more, but there is that much more. And my husband, as a young bride, I came a week after we got married to our community. My husband was asked to officiate by the first wedding, and he asked me to teach the bride. And I said, like, no, I don't really feel that comfortable about that. I really would appreciate you get someone else. I didn't feel knowledgeable enough. I didn't feel comfortable with the subject. And we did. And a week before the wedding, we found out that she never learned anything. And I said, oh my goodness, and I made a decision that if it was my husband's job to officiate by weddings, then it was my job to make sure that every single girl or woman who got married or was married would be able to appreciate the incredible system that God has given us. And so I started reading and learning, because it's very important for me to feel over-prepared to be able.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Can you unmute yourself? I muted everybody. Can you please unmute yourself? Mrs. Carlebach. There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I started reading every book that I could get my hands on the topic, the Jewish approach to intimacy, everything related to it. And as I was reading, I thought to myself, like, how is it possible that there is such a wealth of knowledge, that it's so beautiful, and that we don't even know this, and then we're not even aware, and we go into marriage not understanding the purpose of intimate relations, the beauty of intimate relations, the power of intimate relations, the difference between men and women, our own selves and how we work, And I just thought, like, this is like, oh my gosh, I got to get this out. I just thought to myself, like, first of all, it so enhanced my own personal life. I started understanding myself. I started understanding my husband. I started understanding, the role of intimate relations in our marriage, the beauty, the power, the passion. And then, of course, subsequently, I took courses on it, and that's the story. And we just went from there.
That's amazing. So you were born from a religious background, and in Canada, yeah? You're from Canada.
Yeah, I was born from, there was always like positive feelings, like, my parents gave over the vibe of us of always like intimate relations was beautiful and powerful. Relationship between husband and wife was special and awesome.
Okay.
But you know what? But there's so much more. Like there's knowing it and there's knowing it, and when you learn the Torah view, it's like, okay, now you got it. You understand it. You can pinpoint it. You can express it. You can talk about it. You can teach it. And it becomes so invigorating and powerful.
Yeah. And so you got married like pretty young, or was it like
I was 20.
20.
20,
Okay. So it
20
took
years.
you how long since where you were married until like that was that year? You said like, wow,
Well, it was that. It was the first year that I got married. That's when I started my journey of learning and studying, and then it was more of something that, slowly. First, it like impacted my life a lot, of course. And then, of course, since we have 1,000 families in our synagogue, so, when brides would come, so I felt very comfortable. I started teaching them. The more, in the beginning, it was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do it, because still the subject, it, but like talking about it and being so open about it, it's still like, this is a private, this is private, and, to just talk about it. But of course, we know like it's private, but not secret, so, but of course, in the beginning, it's like not so simple or to talk about or bring it out. But one of the things that the Rebbe says is that you should think about it as if you're talking about kosher, as if you're talking about Shabbos, as if you're talking about about mezuzah, any of the rituals of Judaism. Intimate relations is a gift and a mitzvah, a special gift from God. So it's the same thing. And that really helped me a lot.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, this is it. I'm teaching, I'm a teacher by profession. I'm teaching about this incredible mitzvah.
Yes.
And then people started understanding in the religious community, people saw that I was teaching. And so one of the main teachers in Montreal at that time, she had called me up because there was one girl I was teaching at that time in the Beth Rivka, called and said like she felt really comfortable learning with me, and so would I do that? And of course, how could you refuse? If that's my mission, that every girl needs to go,
Right.
then if that's, then of course I jumped in. And then from that, I started really teaching, religious girls as well. And then from that, I started training teachers how to teach and how to feel comfortable. And from teaching about intimate, from the laws that regulate the intimate life of the Jewish couple, which is called Taharat HaMishpacha, family purity. Then I graduated to actually training intimacy coaches, and which are even more in the details of really appreciating the details of this incredible gift that Hashem has given us.
Would you agree if I would say that is, let's say, intimacy coaching is more, is, yes, it is about the laws, but it's also about the spirit. It's more about the spirit of the law than the laws that govern this area. Would you agree?
Right. Yeah. So what I really concentrate on is, first of all, understand, which is also, it's all Torah knowledge, but how much can you give a bride before she's getting married? There's not that much time. And also they're not yet active. So what they're learning in theory, and then all of a sudden you're practicing, you understand it in two different ways. Also, we don't want to overwhelm our brides,
Yes.
and our grooms. So it's really about going to the next level of, understanding, and this is all Torah knowledge, understanding the difference between male and female, understanding the details. Understanding the details is, like you said, it's not only about the law, it's the spirit of the law, it's the ritual of the law, it's the intention. There's so much involved in making this part of our life beautiful, and it's all there in the Torah. It's all God's gift. It's all God's wisdom. I always say, I have a new saying. I say, why don't we ask the creator of pleasure what he thinks about pleasure, or how to receive pleasure? Like, he made it, he knows it. Let's go straight to the source.
Right. Amazing. This is already, so powerful. So thank you so much for sharing that. So now I'm thinking, like, of all this experience and all these years of working with couples and women and brides, and yourself, because you also mentioned, you worked also within, correct? So what would you say are the three most important lessons in marriage and that you've learned as a coach, and probably as a wife too, in this area of intimacy in marriage? Three lessons that you can tell us.
So I would say, number one, that God's God's system is a perfect system. And then it's just our job to tune into the perfect system, to understand the system, to achieve the goals and the specifics of the system. But we start with, it's a perfect system. Now let me learn it, let me study it, let me do it. And it's, it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. But it's always, I always say, it's not where you are right now, right? It's when we know the goal, we're going to get there. When we know the destination, we're going to find the way. And just knowing that helps every part of the journey.
Wow.
And it helps you to enjoy every part of the journey.
That's amazing that you're saying this, because it is true that when you have that knowledge of sorry, 1 second. Thank you. Sorry about that. So when you're connected to that idea, then it really, I wouldn't say becomes easier, but it definitely gives you a goal. So a lot of times I've been told, okay, focus, in the big picture. What's the big picture? And this is what you're telling us. The big picture is that it's a perfect system, right? So just focus on that. It doesn't mean it has to be perfect for you. It is a perfect, it's like what Roy Freeman said, the difference between fact and truth. The truth is that it's a perfect system. The fact is we're humans.
That's right. Exactly.
So
that's part of the system, and that's part of the system. So that's okay. You accept that too. And we're able to accept our imperfections. That's actually what really helps you reach it and enjoy the journey, and gain the most out of it.
Yes. So that's the first lesson. The second lesson?
The second lesson is that intimate relations are a vehicle to reach oneness with God, with our spouse, and with ourself.
Oh, love that.
And like we said, it's the perfect system. So there are times when we are able to be together, which is the ideal state. And then there's the time of separation. And there's also the whole purpose is to reach oneness with God, with our spouse, and ourself. And so this is the purpose of the system. And everything that is there is for this purpose. So that's the second lesson. And the third lesson is that within this system, both the times when we are together and the times when we need to separate, and hopefully there is much more times that we're able to be together, because that's the way really, the purpose and the intent of this system is that it is a barometer of our strengths and our weaknesses. And in this area of our life, this intimate area of our life, it is most obvious what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, and within this, it can either cause the greatest of pleasure and connection or the greatest of pain and disconnection.
That itself is very profound. Can you explain or maybe word it in a different way, or maybe add some more to this?
So
it's very deep already.
So let's say, for example, it's really important in intimate relations to have patience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not always doing what I want it, when I need it, how I want it, the moment, It's really about being considerate of another person, about giving the other person and going according to their wavelength, of working together, of noticing when is a good time and the person's emotions and feelings. There's so much that is needed, let's say, in the area of patience, even in just, not getting too excited too fast if the spouse isn't there yet, and working together with each other, And when we learn to have patience in the bedroom, in those areas that we need patience, it actually helps develop the characteristic of patience in every other aspect of our relationship,
Mhm.
of every other aspect of our relationship with other people. So sometimes we go and we say, let's work on patience and this will help. But actually, sometimes it's so much more powerful and so much more apparent that that's really the problem when we look at what's happening in the bedroom. Let's work on it there in a fun and pleasurable and nice way that actually, when we work on it, we can actually see results in not always that long. It could sometimes actually be quite quick, sometimes changing some very small things. I can have women that I'm working with, change their mindset and one or two, three times, major difference. I have many people like within 4 months, you're going to see a major difference, within it, and have pleasure, turn the thing. And that without even realizing it, it changes into other parts of your relationship, into the way you act, being able to focus, being considerate of another person. It's awesome, really. So if we want to let's look at the details of what's going on in the bedroom, and we're actually improving our character and our personality that will affect every other aspect of our life.
I love this. I love this. And so I have so many follow-up questions about this because first of all, would you say, and you can say yes or no, that's it, but if you want to, talk about more, that would be also amazing. Would you say that these also applies, because we're talking about Jewish thought and Jewish rituals and Jewish, let's say, ways of conducting ourselves in this area. Would you say that these apply to non-Jews or non-Jews?
100%, 100%, because intimate relations and being married and having a moral, ethical society is something that is commanded to Jews and non-Jews. Mm-hmm. When God created Adam, right, who was the father of all mankind, the first thing that God said to him is, a man shall leave his mother and father, he shall cling to his wife, and they shall be one flesh. That commandment, that instruction is for all mankind.
Correct.
So therefore, all of these concepts, yes, there are certain details that a non-Jew is not obligated to do, and that a Jew would be obligated, but the basic connection of becoming one, which is the vehicle, is intimate relations, about clinging and passion, because it says, what is clinging? Clinging is hugging and holding on as if you never want to leave go. It's being glued to each other. That's the instruction to all mankind. So to say, ancient or present wisdom or Torah wisdom, godly wisdom, is for all mankind.
Yes, I agree 100%. And this is so special that you're being so outspoken in the group, and also in this interview and in your life in general. I'm sure that you're bringing these. It's a powerful concept. It's very easy in the outside world to see things separate. Well, what I do in the bed doesn't have anything to do with anything else. And what you're saying, what we're discussing here, is that it does affect. It actually is the root of it. If you want to see any change. So this is something I really personally, when I started feeling like that, I thought I might be crazy. And then I started reading a little more, because I saw, how sometimes we were like, these relationships and marriages have ups and downs. It's a flow. It's never, perfect, but it has good moments and like not so good moments. And in the good moments, I started feeling like how that affected my kids. And I would be like a pattern. I actually started seeing a pattern. And I was like, this is so interesting. And then, in the bad moments, I also saw like my kids are like, when there was no connection within the couple. So I thought to myself, like, is this crazy? Am I seeing things that might not be true? And then, following you and other people, it just comes to I came to realize that it actually, it works, it affects whatever you do in the bedroom. It's something that is like a wave, like when you throw a rock in a lake, right? It just creates waves, in other areas. So That's amazing. Thank you so much.
And also what's interesting, what you mentioned before, like when you asked for an example, that within intimate relations, for us to be successful, there's so many different elements and, you know, characteristic traits that are involved. Like, just to name a few, and it's also like the balance, you know, to be healthy, we need to be in balance, right? And within the bedroom, you know, there's the idea of being, you know, selfish, so to say, allowing yourself to enjoy, and there's the idea of being selfless, you know, so there's the balance, you know, there's the idea of being focused, and there's the idea of just allowing yourself to explore, you know, there's the idea of being in the moment, and also letting yourself travel, so to say, to ecstasy, you know, there's the idea of, you know, of patience, and then there's the point of, you know, reaching a point of no return, you know, so there's passion and there's being calm. And so, you know, there's so many things that we don't even realize. And by working on the relationship and making it satisfactory and pleasurable and mutually loving for both the couple, for the husband and the wife, we are actually, like we said, developing so many incredible parts of our own personality.
I love this. And I want to get into that more in detail with these following questions. So let's talk about, okay, so we're saying here that this is a ripple effect, right? Our intimate lives are a ripple effect. So we have some responsibility as women. What would you say is the role, and this is the key question of this interview, what would you say the key role and the main role of the wife in this particular issue? I'm not talking about the laws, I'm not talking about if you follow or you don't follow, I'm talking about this ripple effect of blessings, this flow of blessings. What would you say is the role of a woman?
So first of all, it's about understanding that intimate relations is really focused around the woman, okay? Her needs, her pleasure, her menstrual cycle. Really, it is God's gift to the woman to feel loved, to feel cared for, to recharge her batteries, a place where she is there to receive. And by receiving, we know as women, we have the power more to give. Yeah. So it's really about understanding that it's a gift, understanding according to Kabbalah, the Zohar, it says that a man's drive, sexual drive, is actually given to him because his wife needs it. So understanding that our husband's sexual drive is because we need it, because it's to make us feel loved, is totally transformational.
It's a game changer.
A game changer, you know, understanding that God, from the time of Eve, planted in our heart a desire to be with our husband, and that it's actually natural, and that it's just our job to access the desire, to understand that it's there, and if we're not feeling it, why? What can we do to access that? That's incredibly powerful. You know, if we look at the world, it's not necessarily taught that way at all. You know, so to be able to access it. And the third thing that I want to talk about right now, there's so much more, but actually to show our desire.
Wow.
To show our desire. And according to the Torah wisdom, it actually says that when a woman shows her husband that she desires him in a playful and fun way, in a loving and friendly way and passionate, it says she is promised children that are greater than in the times of Moses.
Incredible.
Those were children who were capable of feeling and seeing God, greater than the greatest of prophets. So when a woman will show her desire, she's actually, you know, giving herself the greatest gift, giving her children the ability to feel God, to see God, you know, to connect with God. And that's only that's one of the benefits. There's so many more in her own personal life, in her like we said, community life, in her spousal relationship. And it gives a woman permission, not only that, but by nature we're shy. So it actually encourages us to be able to do that. You know, if you read in the literature, so in general, it says that women in their 40s and 50s actually start enjoying relations so much more because they all of a sudden, you know, they feel, you know, don't feel as shy, and they feel that they're able to initiate, and they feel more comfortable. But like, I was talking to a bride yesterday, and I was teaching her, and I said, we don't have to wait till we're 40. You know, we know this from the day we get married, and therefore we're able to nurture that part of us. And, you know, the more we do it, the easier it becomes. So it's first the knowledge, knowing that this is good, this is holy, this is beautiful, this brings connection, this brings warmth, this brings, you know, beauty, health, exactly, physically, emotionally, mentally. And therefore, you know, we have that, like, hey, let's do this. This is beautiful.
Amazing.
And I say think especially for women who are more spiritual, knowing that this is godly is a really big game changer.
Yes. So this is amazing. And I love that you're saying this. And it comes to mind, like, what would be the role when that is not possible, in the sense of, like, we are not feeling connected, which happens again, as I was telling you before. Relationships are ups and downs. It's like the waves, right? Like the ocean, you know, like the moon. Correct? We've been told this, you know. There's times in which we are meant to be together, and this is a fact, and you probably know, and you have encountered this, that we don't want to initiate it, we don't feel like it, we don't, you know. And because we're not talking only about our, and of course we're talking about our responsibility, but our responsibility is connected to our husbands. So sometimes our husbands could be not in a good mood, they might be going through something, midlife crisis, whatever it is, you know, that is an obstacle. Correct? Would you say that is an obstacle? So what would it be, the role in that moment when we don't feel like this is something we want to do?
You know, many years ago when I was first married, 35 years ago, so I was asking, like, the people in my community who are much older than me, like, what is the secret of a happy marriage? And one of you know, the one gentleman, he said to me, he said, I really truly believe that when a couple are able to connect, no matter what's going on in their life, and they're able to connect in a physical way and enjoy that part of their life, it helps them to overcome many obstacles. You know, so many times we feel our life has to be perfect to connect, because there is the emotional component that is extremely necessary, especially for a woman to allow herself to be vulnerable. Yeah. But when a couple works together and understands that this is an important part of their life, then they also say, you know what, let's connect. We love each other. We care about each other. We need to work on whatever we need to work on. But let's not let this part of our life go on the wayside just because we need to work on certain parts of our life. Mm-hmm. And when we are able to do that, it actually helps us to work. And what I like saying is, when a couple, and I'm making it simple right now, and it's not so simple, and there are a lot of details, and sometimes within couples, there is sometimes where, yes, this part of our relationship has to be on hold right now while we work on it. So I'm not underestimating certain issues that sometimes does have to call for abstinence within a couple, because we are dealing with different things. But it's like the last result type of thing. You know, it's something that we do with consultation and with an understanding that this is what's important for the betterment of the couple. But in general, you know, if it's the regular ups and downs of couplehood, you know, it's like when we turn to each other, we're actually, I feel we're saying our marriage, which intimate relations is the only thing that we don't share with anyone else. So it's our marriage is stronger than our problem.
I love that.
And not our problem is greater than our marriage.
My gosh, this is a completely different way of seeing things. I love that you're bringing this because it is basically what people say, like there's an elephant and someone is looking at from the bottom and, so, and says, you know, it's terrible, and someone's looking at from the front and it's like, wow, and they think that they're looking at totally different things, but it's the same thing looked in different angles. So yes, it is true that marriages have ups and downs. However, we've been told, and it is true, or we've been, let's say, maybe, I don't know, it is part of the challenge to actually say what you just said. You said it perfectly. My problems, my intimate life is bigger than my problems, not the opposite. My problems are not bigger than my intimate life. And compartmentalizing this and working on this is so powerful and so necessary. I love, we're actually in the time for questions, and there's someone who just asked a question. If you want me to read it to you, is that okay?
I also, yeah, I just want to mention quickly is that also a woman understanding what she needs to be able to be intimate, not just saying no, but telling her husband, I need this, I would like this, it's really important to me, is a big change. It's not like just, okay, we're doing it. It's about discovering how to do it and then making it happen.
Yes, yes. I love, and it's connected to what you said in the beginning. This area of our lives connect us to God, connect us to our partner, connect us to ourselves. That is so powerful, so powerful. I love it because it's very easy to point fingers and say, because of the, you know, because of this, I don't want to do this, because of this or because of that. Then, you know, just going inside and saying, why, what do I need? What is it? What's going on? You know, it is powerful, empowering. And this is exactly what we're talking about. I believe that and I'm gonna conclude this with this statement, that feminism, as we know, is a complete lie. A complete lie. And I do believe that the Torah and the wisdom of God, as we know, that is the truth in the Torah, is actually such an empowering tool for mankind, for, you know, for women across all sorts of backgrounds, honestly. So it's, and I love that you share these exact just ideas about how to see things differently. So there's a question here saying, I believe it brings intimacy to share honestly. Right now, I'm not up to it, and that brings me more in the mood. I think it's important to honor our feelings as well and not pressure ourselves. It helps me be in the mood more often. It's okay to be honest. So I'm guessing that what she's referring to is that honesty puts her in the mood. And I don't know if it's really, I don't know if it's a question or a statement, but well, what do you think? Is that it's honesty? And I think you answered, like,
well, I think I think there's no question, right? What it says, like, the ability to say no really gives you the ability to say yes, right? And according to Torah, right, you cannot have relations unless both parties really desire and, so to say, like, want it. That doesn't mean you have to be passionately desire, because that could happen as you progress, but you have to want it. You know, you have to want it. And it's actually forbidden, of course, for a husband to be together with his wife if she doesn't desire it. Yeah. But it's all in the way we say it. You know, we could be exhausted, we could be tired, but like, it's like, I swear, I love you so much. I'm just so super exhausted. Like, how about we make it up, you know, I make it up for you tomorrow night. Just like we would like our husbands, if they're exhausted and they're tired and we're kind of, and they just aren't able to. Imagine if they say, like, I love you so much, I want to be with you, I'm just super exhausted, but I'll make it up to you. You know, it's all in the way we say it. And I really do believe, and that is, and every part of this has to be with your heart and your soul. I really feel that a good relationship is made up of amazing times, you know, super passionate and loving, and, you know, ecstasy and orgasm and all of that climaxing. It's made up of, that was really nice, and like, I'm here just for you, And I'm happy to do that. And that's my satisfaction too. And that's a healthy relationship, you know? And definitely there is, you know, the honesty. We want to be there with all our heart and soul. But when there's that love and connection, and the way we say maybe no or I can't, then there's no hurt feelings. Then that's actually beautiful, wonderful, loving, and like she said, increases even more love and helps you to be more in the mood.
Yes, yes. I think that the person who posted this, it was so on point on that aspect of just opening, like, I think it's very related to being vulnerable. Honesty has to do with being vulnerable, because sometimes, and also has to do with what you were saying, the way you say it, because honesty could come out as an insult, or could come out as a request, or not even, wouldn't even say request, as a tool to grow, you know. So I think it is incredible. If anybody else wants to post another question, go ahead.
And also, I think it's really important for us to ask ourselves, how many times is that happening? Is it the occasion? Is it more often? Because that also is a lot, you know, very indicative of what's really going on with us. And are we really not in the mood, or do we want to be convinced to be in the mood? Or if we start, you know, are we going to get ourselves in the mood? So there's really a lot of questions.
Yes.
And a lot of questions to the honesty. And we really have to sort of say, be really honest with ourselves, you know, not necessarily what we think we feel is really deep down what we feel.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think all that is really important, really, to know what is the true honesty.
I love this. I actually love this, because it is exactly true. That, like, we know, and you probably learned this. There is one thing that is a surface emotion, right? And then there is what is really hiding. So I've been reading this fantastic writer, Sue Johnson, the famous, you know, Hold Me Tight. Yeah. And she says, sometimes anger is not really anger. Anger is fear, or abandonment feeling, or sadness, you know? So I'm not saying this is the case, but honesty also starts with our own, you know, within ourselves. Like, is this really, am I really mad, or am I really sad, you know? And how can I convey, you know, or am I
and
really
fearful? And how many times do you hear women say, like, you know, I wanted him to come after me? You know, everybody knows that. And women say, like, you know, they make the joke. But if a woman says no, it means you better go, you know, like, or no problem, right? That's when you better know that you have a bigger problem. So really, it's about going and being honest with ourselves. What do I really want? Do I want my husband to pursue me? Do I want him to desire me? You know, that I want to, so to say, give in and feel that. So that's really important when we're feeling what's really, really going on.
I want to insert a little piece of information about your bio that I skipped, which is that you're working on a training on these issues for men, because they need more training. It's not being enough. We talk about this with my husband all the time. Like, you know, and I'm not even saying, God forbid, it's a religious issue. This is, every man in the world needs to know how that the women love to be pursued, and they have to actually train how to do this, you know. So I love this, and you're working on it. I don't know if you already finished it, but you started.
No, we're working on it. Yeah, I was just talking about it with someone who I'm working with yesterday, and I said, like, you know, women, we both go in usually to marriage with really not knowing as much as we really need to know. And of course, you know, you always need to know more. But women will look for the books. They will find the books. They will read. They will ask, you know. But if it becomes a natural thing that, you know, after you're married, you go together just to learn about marriage, not because there are problems, just because, you know, you want to have this special. And so many men think it's like, oh, it's only my wife. But when they learn that this is women, it's so much easier for them. You know, they're just thinking like, oh, my wife, you know, and that would really help a lot.
I love this. I love it. And I wish you a lot of hatzlacha, because it's so necessary. I have another question here. Thank you so much for submitting all your questions. Please take advantage. We have 5 more minutes. So sometimes I feel like I have to start a fight first before I'm in the mood. What is this about? To feel a connection. I think we answered, but if you can answer again, you know, in different words, maybe.
Yeah, that's pretty much, it's like, it's feeling the rush, fight is passion, right? So there's either the negative passions or the
Fire.
fighting or the positive passion. So it's about feeling one's passion. So when a person starts understanding that and realizing and getting in tune, instead of like having to start the fight, she can just go and say, I'm really in the mood of connecting, like realizing to herself that, hey, this is a sign. I'm getting upset. I'm getting angry. This is a sign that I want to connect. This is a sign that I need to take this passion and that I want to feel the passion, in the relationship. Right. So it's always getting back to really understanding ourselves, understanding our needs, understanding our wants, understanding, the power of the connection, understanding our needs, and this really helps. And when our husband also, we can kind of say like, when you see me doing this, it's kind of, we know, and then we can do like, it says that on Friday afternoon, so the evil inclination tries really, really hard to cause a husband and wife to fight. Right. Because either, yes, it could sometimes end that a person, they make up and they want to make up, but a lot of times it can cause disconnect and like, no way, I'm not interested in being intimate until I'm feeling emotionally close and we solve this problem, we apologize. So it says that Friday night is an auspicious time and a holy time to be together. And so the evil inclination comes and tries to make the couple argue so that they're not in the mood. So there could be both, the fighting can cause, a lack of desire. Sometimes the fight can come, but we know that actually, a couple have to make up before they're able to be together, because it has to be it's great love and desire to do that, to make up and then only then be together, because intimate relations is really about love.
I love this. I love this. And I would say love that brings respect, that brings respect. So yes, I love what you're saying is, and I want to translate it into like, we have some indicators within ourselves that tell us what we need. And if we closely listen to it and really take time to really understand what is happening inside, not in a reactive mode, but as an introspective mode, then we will be able to convey these passion and hardness, which I think is, I love this, and I love that you shared this, because I always heard two separate things. One is the Yetzer Hara wants to disrupt the peace of Shabbos, and Shabbos night is the most auspicious time to have intimacy. I never saw that together. So thank you. Like, it makes sense, it makes sense.
Just another point about what you're saying is that, it's just like a child, they don't know that they're hungry, right? So they become cranky, right? But really they're hungry, they're not cranky. Sometimes it's very hard for a woman to be vulnerable and say like, I need to spend time together, or I want to feel that you desire me, or we need time to connect, I'm feeling lonely or sad, So what happens is it comes out, this fight, this anger, which is really, like we know, the bid to connect. I really want to connect you. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to say it, So when we kind of understand each other, then we can help each other notice each other's silent language that doesn't always come out so properly. And it helps us to deal with our own self, maybe not to get there, or helps our spouse to kind of say like, okay, and react to us in a way that helps us to regulate ourselves.
I love this, and it really brings to, and I want to just read one thing, but before that, I want to say that we know, I'm sorry, that God gave us of 10 powers, 9, correct, of speech, correct? Is that the right thing? I don't know, if I don't want to mess it up. I think it was given 9 powers of
the woman
to the women. Right, so that is, we're going back to that honesty, what someone posted about honesty, and the role of what we have the power, and we have the gift of hurting someone destroy someone or something, or build it up and, create passion in a healthy way. So I want to read something here. Understanding when we have pain, we need emotional connection first. It's important to be aware of and convey. Yeah, I mean, understanding when we have pain, we need understand that when we have pain, we need emotional connection first, right? It's important to be aware. It's important to be aware of and convey. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what we're talking about. It's all about our role, and um, the topic of this interview is, what is our role? Our role, as Mrs. Carlebach and as the Torah says, and Mrs. Carlebach shared with us, is really going within, discovering that connection, discovering the truth that this system is perfect and we are imperfect, but that is the mission. That's the mission, and that there's nothing more powerful than our connection, or nothing can be more powerful than our connection. I want to
just, and it's really also about understanding, like, how if I need connection, like, or what words do I need to hear, or what would make me feel better. We want other people to know that, but like, it could be very different for every individual person.
Yes. And for a couple, yeah.
Every couple. And I really feel really strongly that a woman's, attitude, her passion and her feelings and her integral being there and being active partner is really makes the difference, and making this relationship the most beautiful, wholesome, and wonderful relationship for the couple. Really, a woman, yes, definitely, it's the couple, and both of us have our specific roles in the Torah, but definitely our part in this really has an incredible effect. Yes. And really makes it really special.
That's absolutely. I want to just conclude with two questions. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned in life about, intimacy, and as a wife, as a coach, as a rebbetzin, as a director, as a speaker, what's the biggest lesson you've learned in this topic specific on what is our role?
It's all about life. It's all about living. And if I had another hour, I would tell you how I got to that message. But I got this epiphany when my son passed away. And I always had, I'll just tell you really shortly, this feeling that, why do people wait until someone passes away? And when my son passed away from SIDS at 3 months old, there was the most outpouring love. People were doing mitzvahs, incredible things. And I always thought to myself, why? Why do they wait for someone to pass away? And long story short, the light bulb turned on, and I said, it was because he lived that they are doing this. Because he lived. He didn't, God didn't have to send him down for 3 months, but he did. And as a result of him just being in this world for 3 months, I started my school, we wrote a Torah, I have this, all the things that I'm doing now really to the great level was because he lived. And intimate relations is all about life and living. When God talks about the times of separation, which are the difficult part, so to say, you might think about, right, about the system, God says, I'm giving it to you so that you shall live. And we said it's all about connecting to God, who is called the living God. A woman, after she has a period, she goes into the mikvah, and it's called living waters. God gave us the perfect system so that we shall live, so that we should be happy, so that we should have a good life. And God wants it to be a passionate life. That's why the relationship between husband and wife are compared to the relationship between God and his people, because he wants us to be a passionate one. So if in one sentence, what I have to say is, what is the most important lesson is, it's all about life. It's all about living. And the more we connect to the living God, the more we will understand what life and living is really all about.
Amazing, amazing. Mrs. Carlebach, this is so, it's so moving for me. I don't know, I'm like about to cry. I really, really thank you so much for sharing this powerful lesson through a very, I can't even imagine that pain. But you know, what can I say? This is what it is. And so how can we stay in touch with you? How can we, you know, what do you do? What do you offer? And how can we in touch? Can we stay in touch with you?
So right now I'm running, it's about teaching, teaching Taharat HaMishpacha, teaching mikvah. You know, I have that course. It's 10 courses for 2 hours each. And it's really how to introduce the subject of Taharat HaMishpacha to everyone. But really what it is about making this part of your life amazing. It really, every single person who takes this course says it has totally transformed my intimate life, the way I view separation. It is phenomenal.
So can you give us your email? Can you give us your email?
Yes, the email is Chana Carlebach, Chana, Carlebach, Carlebach, at gmail.com. You can also connect through me through our website, which is centerbmc.com. Easiest probably to do it through my email. And the second course that is running being right now is called Sacred Secrets.
Nice.
And that's all about the intention, ritual, motivation, things like that, which is Torah wisdom that is unbelievable.
I love it. Thank you so, so much again. I really wish you much haslacha in this journey of teaching all these supreme lights and sacred secrets to everybody. So thank you so much for everybody who joined and who posted the questions and comments. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you in another time. Thank you so much.
Good night. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and hatzlacha with everything that you do.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. We'll be in touch. Bye.